Story 1. The Cage of Whitworth Street. The rain never stopped in Manchester that December. A grey, wet hatch clung to the streets, and the street lights cast their sickly yellow glow onto puddles that mirrored the city's despair. The Nathan Blackwell's coat was soaked, the leather stiff and heavy against his shoulders. But he didn't care. He had seen worse. Or so he thought. The call had come at 3 in the morning. A teenage girl trapped in a steel cage under her grandfather's house in Colton. Blackwell's gut told him it was bad. Really bad. The 3-story brick house loomed under the dim street lights, silent except for the relentless drizzle. Blackwell stepped out of the patrol car, lighting a cigarette with trembling hands. SGT Kiran Dole, the only man in the team who could still laugh after a case, smirked and shook his head. "Someone's going to need more than a warm cuppa tonight," Kiran said, tugging his scarf tighter around his neck. DS Chloe Reed adjusted her earpiece, eyes already scanning the windows for signs of movement. Her daughter's cough from home echoed in her mind, a sickening reminder that nothing here would be simple. DC Ryan Fletcher fidgeted with his mini drone, its camera lens fogging in the damp air. Nathan exhaled smoke into the cold night. "Stay sharp. We don't know what we are walking into." The front door was unlocked, creaking ominously as Blackwell pushed it open. Inside, the smell hit first, a mix of damp, rot, and something metallic. Chloe whispered, "It's her blood." They descended into the basement. Amelia Hargreaves' cage was crude but horrifyingly secure. Bars welded with precision, a steel door bolted shut. At first glance, the girl seemed lifeless. But the walls told a different story. Red streaks marked the stone, a frantic SOS, drawn in what must have been menstrual blood. Amelia's eyes met Blackwell's as he crouched beside her. Her voice was hoarse but defiant. "Please, hurry." Reginald Hargreaves, her grandfather, appeared on the stairs, a twisted smile hidden behind wire-rimmed glasses. In his hands, a large acid bottle, the liquid sloshing dangerously. "I won't let you take her," he hissed, voice trembling with fanaticism. Chloe moved forward cautiously. "Reginald, listen to me. Let Amelia go. No one has to get hurt." 42 minutes passed like an eternity. The basement stairs were narrow. The air smelled of damp stone and sulfur. Chloe's voice remained steady, negotiating every threat he made. Reginald's hand shook as he balanced the acid over the edge. "She belongs to me," he shouted. Amelia screamed from the cage. "I'd rather die than stay another day." It was the trigger. Reginald hesitated, then tilted the bottle toward his own face. Acid seared his skin, burning away the last vestiges of his sanity. Blackwell and the team finally broke the door open. Amelia stumbled into Chloe's arms, shaking but alive. Reginald survived but was blinded, screaming as paramedics handcuffed him. Life in prison awaited him, a fate he had chosen over anyone else. Back in the patrol car, Nathan lit another cigarette. His hands shook more than usual. Kiran clapped him on the shoulder. "First door of the season, eh? Not even close to warming up." Chloe stared out the window at the rain, her mind drifting to her daughter at home, fighting to breathe. Ryan kept replaying the drone footage, noting the meticulous locks and wiring. Everything about this case was calculated. Horrifyingly calculated. Nathan didn't speak. He couldn't. Not yet. His team, soaked and weary, shed a glance heavy with the unspoken truth. The city was colder, darker, and more twisted than they had imagined. And they had just opened the first of 6 doors. The body cam footage from the basement was silent proof of the ordeal. The desperate symbols, the screams, the threat of acid, the final moment of relief. When Nathan watched later, alone in the office, he could still hear Amelia's voice echoing in his skull. Outside, the rain kept falling, turning Whitworth Street into a mirror of the night sky. The first door of hell had been opened. The rest waited. Blackwell made a note in his log. Door 1, Whitworth Street. Survivor, Amelia Hargreaves. Perpetrator, Reginald Hargreaves. Status, contained. But in his gut, he knew containment was a lie. Something was coming, something that wouldn't wait for paperwork or protocols. Story 2. The Doll of Didsbury. The drizzle outside the penthouse windows blurred the neon glow of Didsbury streets into a sickly watercolor. The rain tapped against the glass like nervous fingers, as if the city itself sensed the horror inside. The Nathan Blackwell, his coat still damp from the last case, didn't notice the cold. Nothing outside mattered anymore. Not after Whitworth Street. Chloe Reed adjusted her earpiece and peered through the binoculars at the towering building. "It's on the 12th floor," she muttered. Her hands were steady, but her chest tightened. She thought of her daughter at home, struggling with her inhaler. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to focus. Ryan Fletcher launched his mini drone from the street below. Its camera zipped silently through the rain, scanning the lobby and hallways. The penthouse was lavish, modern, minimalistic. The kind of place that usually held nothing worse than the smell of perfume and expensive carpet. Tonight, however, it reeked of decay and obsession. They reached the door. Chloe knocked softly. "Helen Whitmore, GMP. Open the door. Nobody needs to get hurt." Inside, the apartment looked untouched at first glance. Sunlight, or the city's diluted street light, fell across the marble floor. But in the corner, a glass coffin-like structure glimmered faintly. Nathan froze, stomach twisting. Helen Whitmore stood beside it, dressed in a flowing wedding gown. Her eyes glimmered with a manic intensity. Inside the glass lay Melissa Cartwright, her roommate, her best friend, now perfect, still doll. Her skin was pale, unnaturally smooth. The overdose of antidepressants had left her alive only in appearance, a lifeless canvas Helen refused to let go. "Don't come any closer," Helen said, voice sweet, almost melodic. "She's beautiful. She'll always be beautiful." Chloe stepped forward cautiously. "Helen, this isn't love. This isn't care. Let her go. You don't have to hurt anyone." Helen shook her head, twirling slowly. "No one understands. Nobody does. She can't age. She can't die. She's perfect." Ryan's drone floated through the partially opened window, its light scanning. Hidden cameras blinked faintly. Live feeds broadcasted somewhere on the dark web. The team exchanged quick glances. The entire apartment was wired. Every move recorded. Helen picked up a syringe filled with formaldehyde, her trembling hands betraying a hidden desperation. "If you come in, I'll join her. Together, forever." Chloe's voice remained calm, cutting through the tension like a blade. "Helen, you don't have to die. You can stop this now." Nathan's hand hovered near his sidearm. Kiran Dol kept watch at the doorway, scanning for backup points. The penthouse felt like a trap. Beautiful, quiet, deadly. Minutes stretched. Helen's eyes darted from Chloe to Nathan, back to the glass coffin. She moved closer to the syringe, trembling, muttering softly to herself. The wedding dress swirled around her like a ghost. Then Chloe saw her chance. "Helen, look at me. Remember your daughter. Remember life." The words struck a chord. Helen hesitated. Ryan flew the drone directly into the hidden camera array, knocking several offline. In the sudden chaos, Chloe lunged, wresting the syringe from Helen's hands just as the needle grazed her wrist. Helen collapsed to the floor, sobbing, staring at Melissa's frozen form. I just wanted to keep her perfect." Nathan let out a long breath, his shoulders sagging with the weight of relief. Kiran shook his head, muttering under his breath, "Never a dull day." They secured Helen and the apartment. The penthouse, once a shrine to obsession, now smelled faintly of chemicals and rain-soaked carpets. Melissa was taken to the hospital. Alive, but catatonic, a fragile shell. Outside, the rain fell harder, tapping against their hoods and coats. Chloe's hands shook as she called her daughter. The cough had returned. Her mind could barely handle the thought that somewhere out there, life went on in normalcy while they wrestled with nightmares. Nathan didn't speak. He just watched the city through the wet glass, the drone's footage still flickering in his mind. The perfect doll, the hidden cameras, Helen's shattered mind. Another door had been opened. Another piece of hell unveiled. Back at the station, Chloe washed her face in the bathroom, tears mixing with the cold water. For the first time in her career, she cried openly. Kiran watched the doorway, silent but sympathetic. Ryan sat in the corner, replaying the footage, already sensing that some images wouldn't leave him for a lifetime. Nathan lit a cigarette in the empty office, staring at the wall. Door 2, he muttered quietly. Whitworth Street is behind us. This one, the doll of Didsbury. Status, contained barely. He crushed the cigarette under his boot. The city outside seemed indifferent. Rain and neon continued to bleed together, masking the horrors inside. He knew, as he always did, that it wouldn't end here. Somewhere, in a dark room with screens and whispers, the first season of nightmares continued. The team could only hope they survived the winter, and that the next door wouldn't break them entirely. Story 3. The Siege of Salford Quays. Salford Quays glimmered under a pale, rain-soaked moon, its canals reflecting fractured shards of streetlight. The wind carried a bitter chill, slicing through coats and scarves, rattling loose signs along the quays. Nathan Blackwell's boots splashed in puddles as he scanned the 22nd floor of the high-rise apartment. He already knew this one would hurt. Chloe Reed adjusted her earpiece, voice calm but tense. Darius Malone. Recent release. Barricaded inside. Hostage. His mother, Irene Malone, age 58. Former GMP officer. Handle with care. Ryan Fletcher launched his drone, buzzing silently through broken street lights. The camera feed flickered as it navigated the high-rise corridors, revealing barricades, overturned furniture, and a single figure crouched in shadow. Kiran Dol grinned, the bravado of a man who knew terror but refused to be cowed. Well, this one's personal, he muttered. The team approached the apartment, guns drawn, hearts heavy. Nathan's PTSD prickled under his skin. Every step echoed in his mind, a memory of Whitworth Street, of Amelia's screams. He had learned to swallow it, but tonight it pressed harder. Inside, Darius Malone was a storm contained. His mother was pinned in the center of the room, hands tied, bruises blooming across her arms and face. His eyes were wild, a mixture of anger, fear, and the raw instinct of a cornered animal. "Hello, Darius," Chloe called softly through the megaphone. "You and your mother don't have to do this. Nobody wants anyone to get hurt." "Shut up," Darius screamed, stepping closer to Irene, lifting a gun and pressing it to her temple. "You think you can stop me like she stopped me 10 years ago? She ruined me. She deserves." Chloe's mind raced. She knew Darius' history. He'd been locked up, haunted by the past, and now he had twisted his mother into a weapon of his own rage. Her hand hovered near the trigger of her sidearm, but she kept her voice steady. "Darius, we can find a way out. Let her go. I promise you. I promise you safe passage." Hours stretched. 4 hours of negotiation, each minute dragging like lead. Chloe promised him a boat, a passage to Ireland, anything to keep the gun down. Outside, Nathan and Ryan coordinated tactical positions. Kiran, across the building on an adjacent rooftop, had the perfect line of sight. The silence shattered when Darius opened the window, gun raised. Kiran fired a single round, piercing the glass, striking Darius in the neck. But the chaos was immediate. Darius staggered, shaking, and in that instant, 3 bullets struck his mother's chest. The room was frozen. Chloe's stomach lurched as she heard the final, heart-stopping thud. Both mother and son collapsed, blood pooling around them, arms entwined as if seeking solace in the only way they could. Outside, the rain washed the city in grey, indifferent to the life and death above. Chloe fumbled for her phone, finding it vibrating in her coat pocket. Her daughter's coughing echoed through the line, her asthma worsening from the smoke and tension. She pressed the phone to her ear, hearing the small, fragile sound, her only tether to a world that was still sane. Kiran's radio crackled one final time. Silence followed. Blackwell's eyes remained dry, lips pressed tight. He had lost a teammate. The first one. And he hadn't even spoken a word to Chloe. Not about the past. Not about the pain. Ryan's drone feed recorded every angle. The broken window, the overturned furniture, the lifeless bodies, the bloody remnants of a mother-son struggle that should never have happened. He swallowed hard, realizing that some images would haunt him forever. The team descended in silence, the weight of the winter pressing on them harder than the rain or the wind. Kiran's absence was a shadow that fell heavier than the city's fog. Chloe's voice was quiet, almost lost in the storm. We couldn't save them all. Nathan exhaled, lighting a cigarette in the alley behind the building. The fire barely illuminated his face, lined and pale. Door 3. Sulford Keys. Status: catastrophic. Casualty: Kiran Dole. Hostage: Irene Malone, both deceased. Containment: failed. The streets were empty, save for the patter of rain and the occasional honk of a distant cab. Manchester didn't mourn. It never did. The team walked back to their car, soaked, broken, carrying the weight of lives lost on streets that reflected only themselves. And yet, the winter was far from over. 3 doors remained unopened. And Nathan, Chloe, and Ryan knew, deep down, that each one would take more than they could possibly bear. Story 4. The Warrant of Wythenshawe. The winter rain had hardened into a bitter drizzle, ice cold against the skin, as Nathan Blackwell's car crawled through the slick streets of Wythenshawe. 3 months of nightmares weighed on him, each case leaving a scar he couldn't voice. Kiran was gone. He had survived Whitworth Street and Didsbury. But Sulford Keys had taken the only man who could still smile. Shane Dall's address appeared on the file. Debts: unpaid child support, £47,000 owed. Another desperate man. But desperation in Manchester had grown dangerous. Chloe Reed scanned the 6-year-old child strapped into the car seat. The boy slept, oblivious to the storm outside. Ryan Fletcher fiddled nervously with his mini drone, the camera lens fogging in the cold. Nathan approached Shane's SUV, gun drawn, heart pounding. The man inside grinned faintly, calm, too calm. Shane's eyes flicked to the child. "Check my papers," he said smoothly. "All in order, officers." Nathan exchanged a glance with Chloe. The radio confirmed the warrant was valid. They moved closer. Shane's hands were empty, or so it seemed. "Step inside," Nathan said. "We need to verify everything." As soon as they entered the SUV, Shane's calm vanished. The car door slammed behind them. He cradled the boy, a shield between Nathan and Kiran's memory. And then he drew the gun, not from his waistband, not from the glove box, but from the child's car seat. 11 shots. Kiran, still alive in the memory of the team, was hit, bullets tearing through his chest and lungs. Nathan returned fire. 18 shots, one finding the petrol tank. The SUV erupted in flame, a black pillar of smoke rising into the stormy night. Shane screamed, engulfed in fire. Nathan's ears rang with the screams, the explosion, the helplessness. The boy survived, though badly burned, 80% of his body scorched. Nathan stared at him, stunned, unable to form words. The trauma sealed his throat. He didn't speak for 3 weeks. Chloe's hands trembled as she scooped the boy from the wreckage, the acrid smell of burning flesh and fuel clinging to her gloves. Rain washed over them, mingling with tears she didn't bother to hide. The city didn't care. The world didn't care. Ryan hovered the drone, capturing the aftermath, the black smoke curling toward the clouds. Every angle told a story of chaos, rage, and death, a story Nathan couldn't narrate aloud. Back at the station, the silence was suffocating. Chloe refused to leave the boy alone in the hospital, while Nathan sat alone, staring at the wall, finally lighting a cigarette that did nothing to calm his mind. Words failed him entirely. Another door had closed, leaving only ashes behind. only a charred reminder that they were powerless against desperation turned lethal. Nathan made a note in his log with trembling hands. Door 4, Vidanshaw. Perpetrator, Shane Dahl. Status, deceased. Casualty, Kiran Dahl, Shane Dahl. Survivor, child, 80% burns. Containment, catastrophic. Chloe whispered into the empty office. We are losing them all. Outside, the drizzle continued, each drop a frozen reminder that Manchester's black winter had only begun. And Nathan, mute, could only watch, knowing the next door would be wars. Story 5. The Black Cat of Moss Side. The night was dense with fog, the kind that clung to the skin and blurred the street lamps into halos of pale yellow. Moss Side had fallen silent under the rain, every puddle reflecting the dim city lights like a warning. DC Ryan Fletcher's hands shook as he approached the terraced house, drone ready but mind already racing. Evelyn Sinclair, 79, lived alone. No neighbors complained. No friends visited. Yet the call from the GMP had been urgent. Something was horribly wrong. Ryan pried the door open. The smell hit him first. A mixture of decay, ammonia, and iron. He stepped cautiously, flashlight slicing through shadows. 7 black cats scattered instantly, hissing, fur bristling. But all eyes focused on a single point, the living room. There, in a circle of cats, lay Evelyn Sinclair. Her body was pale, rigid, eyes staring blankly into nothing. One cat tugged at a finger, another chewed at her wrist. Ryan's stomach churned as he backed up slightly, the drone hovering above, capturing every horrifying detail. He noticed the writing on the wooden floor, scrawled in blood, shaky yet deliberate. They are hungry. Ryan's mind raced. Carbon monoxide from a faulty heater, he realized, had killed her. But the cats, predators instinctive and cruel, had consumed parts of her. One carried a severed finger across the room, tail twitching like a banner of victory. He called for backup, his voice trembling. Chloe and Nathan arrived minutes later, but the scene was burned into Ryan's mind. 7 black cats had transformed the living room into a macabre altar. Evelyn's death was not violent at first, but what came after, the city had never smelled something so bitter and final. At the station, Ryan refused to speak, replaying the drone footage over and over. The cats moved like phantoms on the screen, their eyes reflecting every room they prowled, their movements precise, almost intelligent. Nightmares came quickly. He woke screaming, unable to shake the image of the circle, the finger, the message written in blood. Chloe's voice on the phone was calm but distant. Ryan, you're safe now. He wasn't. Not really. He could still see the 7 cats, waiting, watching, judging. Nathan lit a cigarette in the office, voice low. Door 5, Moss Side. Casualty, Evelyn Sinclair. Animals euthanized. Status, contained, barely. Ryan didn't reply. He never spoke about it again. Not in the office, not in the reports. The footage stayed on his hard drive, encrypted, replayed only in silence, at night, alone. Outside, the fog and rain blurred the streets. Manchester seemed indifferent, yet Ryan felt its cold judgment. Another door had been opened, and another part of him had died along with Evelyn Sinclair. He stopped trusting shadows. He stopped trusting night. And somewhere in his mind, he could still hear the soft scratching, the hiss, the collective stare of 7 black cats, unblinking, waiting for the next door to open. Story 6. The Knife of Hulme. The wind screamed through Hulme, driving rain into the shattered windows of the 15th floor apartment. The Nathan Blackwell stood at the edge of the stairwell, soaked to the bone, every nerve on fire. The city below was a blur of neon and puddles, indifferent to the horror unfolding above. Marcus Tate had called it a night of chaos, and chaos it was. His girlfriend, Leah Brooks, lay bleeding in the corner, stabbed multiple times, her life hanging by a thread. The 4-year-old boy, Finlay, Marcus' son with Leah, was his hostage, suspended outside the balcony, the knife at his throat, trembling in his small hands. Chloe Reed's voice cut through the storm, steady despite the panic. "Marcus, put the knife down. Let the boy go. You don't have to die tonight." Nathan's hands hovered over his weapon. Ryan Fletcher's mini drone hovered near the open window, its camera capturing every second, every drop of rain bouncing off the terrified child's skin. Marcus laughed, a sharp, brittle sound that echoed through the apartment. "Promises, lies. No one saves anyone." He shifted, pulling Finlay slightly back inside, balancing the knife's edge on the boy's throat. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside, chaotic, unpredictable, lethal. Chloe's mind raced. Every negotiation tactic, every promise of safe passage, every plea was rehearsed in the past cases. But nothing prepared her for this. She could hear her own daughter coughing through her coat pocket, helpless, miles away, a cruel reminder that protection was never guaranteed. Marcus pulled Finlay closer to the balcony, and in the sudden motion, Nathan fired. 6 shots rang out, echoing against concrete walls. 4 found Marcus, 2 hit Finlay. 1 struck the child's head. Chloe screamed, lunging forward in horror, cradling Finlay's lifeless form in her arms. Leah survived, broken and traumatized, but her mind shattered in the chaos. In a moment of incomprehensible grief, she leapt from the balcony, her body vanishing into the stormy night. Chloe's screams merged with the wind and rain, the sound hollow, endless, consuming. Nathan dropped to his knees, rain plastering his hair to his forehead. He hadn't spoken a word in weeks, not since Wythenshawe, and now silence became a tomb. Ryan sat in the hallway, shaking, tears streaking through rain-damp hair, eyes fixed on the destroyed apartment. He wouldn't return to the force. The footage he captured haunted him, a digital witness to their failures. Chloe, holding Finlay, rocked back and forth, rain soaking her face, body trembling from grief and exhaustion. The city didn't notice. Manchester had moved on while she screamed, while she mourned, while the black winter claimed another victim, not just Finlay, not just Leah, but the fragments of her own soul. Back at the station, Nathan poured whiskey into a glass, staring at the umber liquid as if it could swallow the world's pain. Ryan's desk sat empty. Chloe occasionally sent postcards from the psychiatric hospital.